Welcome to In an Instant. My name is Ben, and on this episode we're going to cover a variety of instant film topics, from future products to tips and takes on the industry right now. We haven't done a Q&A here on In an Instant since 2022, and it's a great way to cover a gamut of questions while relaxing and enjoying a cup of coffee, which I friggin' forgot. So why don't we get this started? I'll roll the intro, I'll grab the coffee, and we'll start.
The kind of photography that would become part of the human being. Press a button and have the picture.
Alrighty, here's my molten hot cup of joe. I'll definitely not be able to enjoy whatsoever while doing this. Let's get into the Q&A. I appreciate everyone who submitted questions through Instagram. Follow me on there, not to miss a thing. Okay, question 1. Ribsy asks, do you think Fuji will come out with an i2 style camera for Instax? Thank you, Ribs, for the question. He also has a channel focused on film, which you can find there and there and there and other places, and love Ribsy. As for the Instax i2, a phrase that should absolutely be forbidden, I don't think this is in the cards. Instax is a very broad product line. Everything Fuji releases for it is meant to appeal to a large swath of people. And other than like little flourishes they've put onto some cameras, analog Instax cameras have remained more or less the same as they've been for 25 years. I mean, they all have the same fixed aperture lenses between each model, auto shutter speed. They're all maximized to make picture taking easy. They're not really meant to be tooled with like the i2. It's working for Fuji, and I can't imagine they have any inclination to take a hardware risk for a very small subset of their audience, which clearly they don't think they need as part of their consumer base. Ty Housey something asks, what do we really need to see some true progress in new instant film options? This is an interesting question because I think as modern consumers, we are trained to think we need new options and new things all the time, and that every company needs to see constant growth, and that's capitalism speaking. Polaroid created a speaker to diversify their product line and try to generate new revenue streams to fortify their existing products. But I'm not sure that's how this whole thing really works. As artisans and consumers, I think what we need to do is support the current products that are out there, focus on the materials that we have at our disposal, and there is a crazy amount of instant film varieties out there, like way more than anyone could have hoped for in 2024. Actually, let's just count them. Okay, so we have Polaroid 600 and I-type color, which are the same emulsion, 600 I-type black and white, the special edition monochrome film, which is currently a separate emulsion entirely, SX70 color, SX70 black and white, typically a duochrome every year, Go film, which I'll count separately, Instax color, Instax monochrome, Super Sense, 1 instant peel apart film in Choco, black and white, and color. That's 12, right? That's 12. That's a dirty dozen, a filthy dozen. That doesn't need a shower. This question is related, so let's move on to it. Several people asked about packfilm and sort of the state of packfilm, including Fujifilm, Super Sense, New 55, and I think it's worth checking in on because it's officially been 5 years since the last expiry date of FP100C. How depresso is that? Very depresso. Should have put some depresso in my Nespresso. If you're unfamiliar, FP was a type of instant film that peeled apart after exposure. Polaroid made many varieties for decades. It predated integral film. It's beloved, it's discontinued, and the prices are ridiculous if you want to buy old stock. So as for the future of the format, you can support Super Sense by buying their products. They are currently offering a DIY make your own pack film kit, which is really cool. This was featured on the channel, though the film is a premium price and it's not something you're gonna like rip through. I'd say it's more of an experiential product than a format you'd use daily, unless you're a rich angel investor, in which case give me your number. Then there's New 55. They were producing 4x5 peel apart film similar to Polaroid Type 55, which has a positive and negative layer. Sadly, one of their founders, Bob Crowley, passed away a couple years ago, and I think there were other health issues with one of the remaining team members, so there hasn't really been much of an update for over a year. That being said, New 55 had created a system for producing fresh film. They've done the research on figuring out assembly and jigs and stuff, and I don't understand how there isn't one person with many millions of dollars who isn't willing to fund its survival. I'm looking at you, angel investor. Please exist. Beyond these smaller artisanal brands, the only companies who are really in the driver's seat to make packfilm happen are Polaroid and Fujifilm. As far as I know, they are the only two companies able to coat color negative emulsion onto black backing material as the negative. They also know how to make positives, they make pods for their films, they have a lot of the infrastructure in place, and I think chemistry-wise, materials-wise, both Polaroid and Fujifilm are well suited to revive packfilm. The issue is, do people care enough to make the investment worthy? Not really. To create new large-scale assembly machines and execute on a product like that, it would cost tens of millions of dollars probably. Or at least that's what I've been quoted. Suddenly our angel investor's like, well, I'll leave it to it. M8B9 asks, go black and white film when? Look, I've been begging for this since day one. It's not out of the question. Obviously it can exist, but also just seems out of scope for how Polaroid views the Go. Just know that I'm begging for it. AP Groove asks, since SX70 film is becoming harder to get, would you convert an SX70 to shoot 600 film? I think the answer is yes. 600 film is just so much easier to work with, especially in lower light. Both films are essentially the same. As we've learned, SX70 has a filter built in to lower its speed, but I think in general 600 is the way. I will say I do like shooting SX70 in the I2 a lot. You can use wider apertures outdoors in broad daylight without an ND filter on the lens. It's really nice. But if you're shooting SX70 film and SX70 cameras, yeah, I think it's worth considering the conversion. Auto Taku asks, why did Karen take the kids? It's because you failed to find an angel investor for packfilm. Polaroid 1993 asks, if you could ask Polaroid founder Edwin Land anything, what would it be? This is a great question. I've thought about it and maybe even discussed it on the show before. It's always interested me to think about what Edwin Land would think about the Polaroid of today and the photographic technology of today. He dreamt of the ability to take a photo and see it immediately and enjoy it immediately, and digital cameras have just made that possible. If you want to print it, you can print it right away on a mobile printer. The technology to implement his dream has been truly achieved and gone beyond what Polaroid ever was or ever could be. So I'm guessing he'd be pretty cheeked up about it. Amy D. Copeland asks, how can I protect Polaroid film better on hot days? As someone who does a lot of traveling in scorchers down there in Arizona and the Southwest, I feel the pain of Polaroid's propensity to overheat, color shift, turn orange. Though I'll say it's gotten far better over the years, and whenever the next generation of color film drops, I think we'll see a further improvement. But for now, don't be afraid to bring a cooler around, just a tiny one. Put some ice packs in there, but do be careful with condensation. If you put your camera in there to keep the film inside it cool, make sure the camera is sealed in a Ziploc or it could get soaked. Nobody wants that to happen because that's a quick way for cameras to stop functioning whatsoever. MC Fisher asks, if I want a film camera for a trip, what should I get? Mary Claire is one of my close buds from Maryland, go Terps, so seeing her name in here was like, whoa, crossover of universes. But to answer your question, MC, I would go with a Pentax SBO. They are very affordable point and shoots. They're Pentax, so the lenses are great. Just for general memory making and snapping around, the SBOs are awesome. Polaroid Bowtie asked a really good question, maybe like one of the questions at the moment, and it's, what do you think about the current social networks, AI within Instagram and moving on to a new place online? It's tough. The fact is, Instagram is what we've got, I think. I don't think alternatives will ever catch on in any sort of meaningful way, and I think that because tech companies have sort of congealed into these monoliths, and standing out among their noise requires way too much money. There have been apps developed to appeal directly to photographers and directly to film photographers even, but I don't personally find those platforms that interesting. I don't create work only to share it with other photographers, and I don't like how insular that makes the community. I barely like going on my phone at this point. Instagram at least gives me the widest platform to reach the most diverse group of people possible, and I just don't have time for anything else. The AI stuff just sucks. I don't know how else to put it. I found it intriguing to look at first, but now I just hate it, and I'm like honestly disgusted by it. I don't universally hate AI by any means. You have to adapt to new technology as it comes, but as it pertains to photography itself, it makes me pretty much not want to be around anymore. Michael Rogers 4828 asks, how long do Polaroids last? This is a unique question because it's not something we technically know yet. I have plenty of Polaroids from family that were taken in the 80s, but that was the old Polaroid, and of course they look good today, but once a current Polaroid dries and is fully set, it should theoretically last as long as the raw materials will last. The color stuff seems very stable, and black and white turned sepia over the years, definitely. But since Polaroid Original is black and white, I've not seen any substantial fading, so that's good. They'll probably last your whole life, and probably your kids' lives. But have your kids' reach out to me in the comments in 200 years and let me know how things are looking. I'll still be alive, don't worry, I put Instax film in my mouth. Luis Polaroids asks, will you be at Policon Denton this year? I normally would, of course, be there, but I'm actually going to a wedding that weekend. I bring this up because it's a person that I met through Polaroid, so it's really the only good excuse. And it's also just awesome how much love and friendship doing this whole thing has brought. I had film people at my wedding. Now I'm going to a wedding with a guy who uses a Polaroid SLR 690 and thinks it's superior to the 680. And I still love them, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity that In an Instant has given me to meet so many amazing folks. This is way off topic, but you know, this world is absolutely crazy. Like, people are wilding. And when you interact with such passionate and inspiring people while doing something that you love, it can really spark that belief in humanity, which I think we all could use. Don't you think so? Don't you think we could all use that? Well, a little spark. Glitz Entertainment LA asks, how do you negotiate with a client who keeps the original Polaroids? This is a great question because if you shoot Polaroids commercially like I do, it can be a bit of a heartache to have to give so many away. And I'd say in a professional environment, I try to be conscious of that I'm going to do that. Take multiple shots of the same setup, tell people I'll be scanning and then mailing them out and actually doing that. And if it's a shot that really matters to you, it's worth going the extra mile. And it's also worth it to have the client walk away with your Polaroids. I mean, that is worth it. And have them have those photos in their homes and on their fridges and in frames. It might remind them of you when the next job comes around, and maybe they'll buzz you again. All right, I'm going long, so let's just hit one more question here. Jeremy Holden asks, how have you been doing lately? You've been juggling so many projects. Thanks for checking in, Jeremy. It has been a pretty wild year. This is only the 11th episode of 2024, actually, which is kind of a lot given everything that's been popping. Last year, I worked on a long project that featured pro athletes from many leagues traveling the US. And this year, that project continued with Olympians and Paralympians, so this has just been the most surreal run. I got to go to Paris before the games, just got fully engrossed in the Olympics, and we've still got the Paralympics to come later in August. So I'm actually vibing. Lauren and I have our photo studio analog on Hudson humming, and it's amazing to be able to share our love of Polaroid and film with so many fresh faces. See the wonder in people who didn't know this was all really still possible. It's really fulfilling. And generally, I used to be overwhelmed by the challenge of juggling so many things, and now I think it's something that I thrive on. I get something a little different out of everything I do, and I've also accepted that when it comes to this channel, I will make an episode when that episode feels the need to exist, when I'm passionate about something or curious about something enough to invest the time into it and the money into it. And I appreciate everyone who sticks around and makes that possible. To the people donating on Patreon, to the people who are always clicking on the next upload, it keeps the wheels turning, and I love that In an Instant is something that I can theoretically maintain forever. I hope to be doing this in $22.99 because I put all that Instax in my mouth. So, thank you for watching In an Instant. If you're an angel investor, hit me up like right now. Stay tuned for more vibes in the lounge, reviews, and all things instant. Bye. Nope, still so hot.